What's up, card fighters? BOTCG here. I think I've more or less figured out my lighting problem here with these deck profiles, getting back into them. I'm deck profiling my FAVRNEEL deck. Now, this is after the 1K event where I did, like my last round, I did fight off against this really sick, like turbo FAVRNEEL deck, to where they were running one copy of the main FAVRNEEL in their main deck, and they were running this FAVRNEEL in their right deck. And it was basically like they were running like a lot of the turbo. They were running the Blankmeyer ride line. They're running this new grade 2 order card that we got that's top 5, put a card to soul. So like they were just like turboing to get the one of into soul, which was awesome because he did get to pull it off. He actually hit over trigger against me, but I'm not brave enough to show you that list. So I'm gonna show you a little bit more of a little bit, not like something like nothing against him. I'm not brave enough to do it, so this is what I've been playtesting with, and this is what I feel comfortable playing for my FAVRNEEL list. Shoutouts to @Hems004, I believe is his YouTube channel name. I got the Omnia ride line idea off of him. Originally, I was using the Bruce ride line, but this one just makes like way more sense. I know you pull a trigger out of the deck with the grade 2, but that doesn't really matter the way I've set up my trigger lineup, to whereas I'm always just pulling out a trigger that I don't care about. I don't care whether if I check this or not, instead of like a crit or a heal or something like that. But yeah, let's get into the deck profile here. 4 copies of FAVRNEEL RHEINGOLD. Nothing much to say here. He's better than the old FAVRNEEL because, well, obviously he gives 10k to the front row instead of just 10k to himself, but he also, like, something that Dark State struggles with is he puts a card from drop zone into soul, which I really like that ability. I know some people didn't like it, like Curly Hair was like, why does he do that instead of like what the OG was doing? But I prefer this, in my opinion, because it's a good way of getting like pieces you've discarded or pieces you have to guard with into your soul, which is where Darkseid wants them to be. So I really like that part of his effect. I like the fact that you get to choose now in your retiring. And I really like the fact that it's not just CB2, it's CB2 or put a FAVRNEEL from your hand to soul. Any FAVRNEEL. So again, if you were brave, like that one guy, like shoutouts to him, his deck was actually very sick. If you were brave like him, you could be playing the one of in deck and still have a way of putting it into soul. But yeah, going on to the next of our deck here is 4 copies of Red Baron. Red Baron is what lets you Persona Ride. He does have a into soul pop a card ability after he attacks, so that's one of the many ways that you can put him to soul. There's quite a lot of ways you can put him into soul with this deck, but that's one of the many ways that you can do it. You generally always want to have a Red Baron in soul set up for your next turn so that you can Persona Ride. Because you get benefits from not riding, which Red Baron is one of the benefits. If you didn't ride, you get the effect. Funny enough, RHEINGOLD doesn't care if you ride at all or not, but like Red Baron and then like Squash Freaks are other cards that, like, if you didn't ride, you get these bonuses. 4 copies of Eligos. Eligos is your countercharger of the deck. He's like I consider him to be like a necessary evil, to be honest, because he's kind of like one of the worst cards in your deck. Even though he is your countercharger of the deck, he does pop a card and countercharge, but you're negging one to be able to pop that card and countercharge, and that's like one thing I really just don't like about Eligos. That's my personal statement on Eligos, but he is of course a necessary evil. Going on to the rest of our grade 3s for this list, we're playing 4 copies of Causality Dragon. Originally, these Causality Dragons were Jarret Dragons. Jarret Dragon is the card of when you play it, you could put a card from hand to soul and draw a card. The reason that I'm running Causality Dragons over Jarret Dragons is because you need 13 different grades, Dark States grades in soul, and that's why we're running a heavy grade 3 count to begin with. But this allows you to, this lets you get away with playing more grade 3s but still have shield value at the same time, and that guard restrict ability can come up. He retires, which is already what the deck was doing. Like, it's like it's one of those decks where like its main strategy has nothing to do with retiring. It just happens to retire while doing its main strategy, and it helps in that fact that it pulls something to soul just like Ellie Ghost does. So it helps you reach that that 13 as well. It really sucks that we can't play Jarrett Drag. At least I'd rather play this over Jarrett Dragon just because of the issues I've had with shield value in this deck. But yeah, it's like just one of those things where like you just kind of have to trade it off. Unfortunately, you're a little bit more reliant on what you soul charge off your ride line, and you're a little bit more reliant on how you do your attack patterns on your first grade 3 turn. Next we're playing one copy of Forbidal Surrogate. This is a grade 3 deck, so of course it makes like perfect sense. Forbidal Surrogate can literally get you like anything that you're missing. If you're missing a Rheingold, you can get a Rheingold, and then you have 2 different ways to put Rheingold into soul. You can get a Causality Dragon. You can get a Red Baron if you're missing a Red Baron, an Ellie Ghost for Countercharger. There's like so many applications with Forbidal Surrogate because this is a grade 3 deck. And then we're playing one copy of Walk the Dark. This deck doesn't really use energy, and the way that Rheingold works, this is a card that you can technically loop defensively on your turn because of Rheingold's first main phase ability to put a card to soul and pop a card from drop zone. You could essentially always guard with this. It goes to drop zone, and then on next turn you can put it back to soul, so you'll always have that 15k shield. I was running this at 2. I cut it down to 1 because 2 felt too clunky because I am running the Blitzorder PG in this deck just because of stride decks are so prevalent right now, in my opinion, of course. But yeah, this is it for the grade 3s that we are running in this deck. We are running a heavy grade 3 count. This is 18 grade 3s, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we're running a heavy grade 3 count. Going on to the grade 2s of the deck. We're playing 4 copies of Schoolish Freaks. Schoolish Freaks is another card like Red Baron that it cares about you not riding, because it becomes a grade 4 in soul if you haven't ridden this turn. And also, he has another ability of when your Vanguard attacks, if you haven't ridden this turn, you can bind him from soul, and your front row gets a permanent 5k until the end of turn. So it's another one of the ways towards you can turn with Persona Ride 10k to the front row, with Rheingold's effect 20k to the front row, into 25 and up, depending on how many Schoolish Freaks you have in soul. Going on to the next of the next segment of the deck, we just kind of like filled in the rest of the deck with cyclers, because unfortunately I am running every FAVRNEEL support card. We don't have any more FAVRNEEL support cards, unfortunately, but we're playing 4 copies of Limia. Limia is really good in combination with Red Baron, which he's kind of like glared out really quick here, so let me just pull one out. So Lamia in combination with Red Baron, because Red Baron has you bind itself and discard during the ride phase, you discard a Lamia, you activate Persona Ride, and then you can activate Lamia's effect to Soul Blast 1, put her on the bottom and draw a card. So basically you're not negging off of Persona Ride, you're plussing 1 off of Persona Ride, like a pure +1 off Persona Ride. And this was always like, I've been doing this for a while. Like, Lamia's been in the deck like since I first got my hands on FAVRNEEL, because of the synergy it has with Red Baron. So yeah, this is what I consider one of those, like, it's like not an engine card, but a very good supplemental card. And then we're playing 4 copies of Tishkar, the Energy Cycler. Again, we don't really use energy in this deck besides Walk the Dark. So Tishkar is just like an easy auto include. It becomes a booster, and you have like really good ways of getting rid of it, like after it doesn't have its boost ability. Like, you can get rid of it the same turn you activate its boost ability, which is really nice. And you have consistent ways to activate Persona Ride in this deck, so that's not even really like a real issue. There are like more, I did promise wait. The Walk the Dark, I did not think of this on my first construction of this deck. Shoutouts to Diabolos TCG. Check out his channel. He actually has like some really clean camera shots of his match videos. And I checked out his FAVRNEEL deck profile because, you know, there's not that much content on FAVRNEEL. And he was playing this. I thought that was a brilliant idea of the deck. So I just like, you know what? let me play that too. So yeah, shout out to Diabolos TCG. And I did promise another commenter on my last FAVRNEEL deck profile that I would come up with some budget alternatives. You don't have to play Tishkar and you don't have to play Lamia. I know these are expensive cards. You don't have to play these. There are 2 grade 1s. There's a grade 1 dragon that it counts as a grade 3 in soul, and then there's another grade 1 girl that she counts as a grade 3 in soul, and she's a 10k booster, and then after she boosts, you can put her to soul. So there are budget options for this deck. I know Eligos might still be expensive. Unfortunately, like this deck does need the counter charge off of Eligos, but besides that, there's really no need to run like all these other expensive cards. This just like it ups the consistency and it ups the average of your deck, because you're still going to be doing the same thing that this deck wants to do, but you're upping the average by playing these cycler type cards, by playing these consistency pieces, and by playing these extra shield cards to just try and help keep you in the game longer. Anyway, 1 Elementaria Perfect Guard, 3 regular DPGs, 1 of the Dark States Overtrigger. This is a restanding Vanguard deck, so it just makes sense that we're playing the Dark States OT in this deck. Something that you might find quite shocking, I'm not running draws, which I was an advocate for draws in FAVRNEEL, just because FAVRNEEL is such like a heavy piece reliant deck. I'm running the Into Soul Fronts, and you might be asking yourself, why are you running the Into Soul Fronts instead of like the 20k fronts? The reason I'm running the Into Soul Fronts is because we are using Soul off of Lamia. There was been quite a few times I didn't want to Soul Blast an actual grade off of Lamia, so I would Soul Blast, you know, like zeros that I put into Soul, either artificially or by guarding with them, which is has come up quite a bit. This is the part where I was talking about with that we don't mind soul charging, like pulling this from deck with Omnia Owl, because we don't really care about this trigger, in my opinion at least. We don't really care about this trigger. If we get a front is cool, but we're mostly worried about checking crits and checking those heals. So that was my decision with this. I didn't want to run draws just because of the lack in shield value, and it felt like I was decking out really fast, because you go through your deck super fast in this deck. So next we're going on to our critical triggers. We're running 8 vanilla crits. You don't really care about the Into Soul crit in this deck because it doesn't have a grade, so it really doesn't mean much, and you don't really have any grade 1 boosters to take advantage of that. And then we're playing 4 of the regular heal triggers. You can play effect heals if you want to. I've just always been a big proponent of vanilla heals are almost strictly always better. I've never lost a game from playing a vanilla heal, but I have lost a game from playing an effect heal. But yeah, that is my FAVRNEEL deck profile, guys. I would consider this, it's really hard. I want to say that it's tier 2 playable. What I would say is that FAVRNEEL RHEINGOLD is locals playable. I do believe that you can take a FAVRNEEL RHEINGOLD deck and you can do well with it in a local setting. Like you can get into top 4 with a FAVRNEEL RHEINGOLD deck, or like top 2 depending on the size of your locals. I wouldn't say besides that FAVRNEEL is a very competitive deck in this format. Obviously the shield value problem is a big problem with this deck. Hitting your 13 soul can be a little bit of a challenge because you are still very quite piece reliant. It doesn't like it when you touch its board. And even though it does like touching your opponent's board, unironically, it doesn't like getting its own board touched, because it really doesn't generate that much of a board. But yeah, this is my FAVRNEEL RHEINGOLD deck profile, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you thought about it down below, and you will be seeing more content like this in the future. Later.